Lost and Found, a collection of stories by Shaun. The Red Tree by Shaun. Sometimes the day begins with nothing to look forward to, and things go from bad to worse. Darkness overcomes you. Nobody understands. The world is a deaf machine. Without sense or reason. Sometimes you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, but nothing ever happens. Then all your troubles come at once. Wonderful things are passing you by. Terrible fates are inevitable. Sometimes you just don't know what you are supposed to do. Or who you are meant to be. Or where you are. And the day seems to end the way it began. But suddenly there it is, right in front of you, bright and vivid, quietly waiting. Just as you imagined it would be. The next story is called The Lost Thing by Shaun. So you want to hear a story? Well, I used to know a whole lot of pretty interesting ones. Some of them so funny you'd laugh yourself unconscious. Others so terrible you'd never want to repeat them. But I can't remember any of those, so I'll just tell you about the time I found that lost thing. This all happened a few summers ago, one rather ordinary day by the beach. Not much was going on. I was, as usual, working tirelessly on my bottle top collection, and stopped to look up for no particular reason. That's when I first saw the thing. I must have stared at it for a while. I mean, it had a really weird look about it, a sad, lost sort of look. Nobody else seems to notice it was there. Too busy doing beach stuff, I guess. Naturally, I was intrigued. I decided to investigate. It sure didn't do much. It just sat there, looking out of place. I was baffled. It was quite friendly, though, once I started talking to it. I played with the thing for most of the afternoon. It was great fun, yet I couldn't help feeling that something wasn't quite right. As the hours slouched by, it seemed less and less likely that anybody was coming to take the thing home. There was no denying the unhappy truth of the situation. It was lost. I asked a few people if they knew anything about it, but nobody was very helpful. I took the lost thing over to Pete's place. Pete has an opinion on just about everything. Cool, he said. I'm trying to find out who owns it, I told him. I don't know, man, said Pete. It's pretty weird. Maybe it doesn't belong to anyone. Maybe it doesn't come from anywhere. Some things are like that. He paused for dramatic effect. Just plain lost. There was nothing left to do but take the thing home with me. I mean, I couldn't just leave it wandering the streets. Plus, I felt kind of sorry for it. My parents didn't really notice it at first. Too busy discussing current events, I guess. Eventually, I had to point it out to them. Its feet are filthy, shrieked Mom. It could have all kinds of strange diseases, warned Dad. Take it back to where you found it, they demanded, both at the same time. It's lost, I said, but they had already started talking about something else. I hid the thing in our back shed and gave it something to eat. Once I found out what it liked, it seemed a bit happier then, even though it was still lost. I checked the local newspaper for any lost pet notices, but only found a lot of good deals on refrigerator repairs. I remember thinking then that Pete was probably right, that some things were just plain lost. In any case, I sure couldn't keep the thing in the shed forever. Mom or Dad would eventually notice it when they came out looking for a hammer or something. It was a real dilemma. I was wondering what to do when a small advertisement on the last page of the paper happened to catch my eye. Are you finding that the order of day-to-day life is unexpectedly disrupted by unclaimed property, objects without names, troublesome artifacts of unknown origin, filing cabinet leftovers, things that just don't belong? Don't panic. We've got a pigeonhole to stick it in. The Federal Department of Odds and Ends. Sweep us underum carpete. Downtown, 6328th Street. Tall gray building, number 357B. The next morning we caught a tram into the city. We arrived at a tall gray building with no windows. It was pretty dark in there, and it smelt like disinfectant. I have a lost thing, I called to the receptionist at the front desk. Fill in these forms, she said. The lost thing made a small, sad noise. I was looking around for a pen when I felt something tug the back of my shirt. If you really care about that thing, you shouldn't leave it here, said a tiny voice. This is a place for forgetting, leaving behind, smoothing over. Here, take this. It was a business card with a kind of sign on it. It wasn't very important looking, but it did seem to point somewhere. Cheers, I said. At this point, we left the tall gray building and hunted all over the place for this sign. It wasn't an easy job, and I can't say I knew what it all meant. Eventually, we found what seemed to be the right place, in a dark little gap off some anonymous little street. The sort of place you'd never know existed unless you were actually looking for it. I pressed a buzzer on the wall, and this big door opened up. I didn't know what to think, but the lost thing made an approving sort of noise. It seemed as good a time as any to say goodbye to each other. So we did. Then I went home to classify my bottle top collection. Well, that's it. That's the story. Not especially profound, I know, but I never said it was. And don't ask me what the moral is. I mean, I can't say that the thing actually belonged in the place where it ended up. In fact, none of the things there really belonged. They all seemed happy enough, though, so maybe that didn't matter. I don't know. I still think about that lost thing from time to time, especially when I see something out of the corner of my eye that doesn't quite fit. You know, something with a weird, sad, lost sort of look. I see that sort of thing less and less these days, though. Maybe there aren't many lost things around anymore, or maybe I've just stopped noticing them. Too busy doing other stuff, I guess. The last story is called The Rabbits. It's written by John Marsden and illustrated by Shaun. The rabbits came many grandparents ago. At first we didn't know what to think. They looked a bit like us. There weren't many of them. Some were friendly. But our old people warned us, be careful. They won't understand the right ways. They only know their own country. More rabbits came. They came by water. They didn't live in the trees like we did. They made their own houses. We couldn't understand the way they talked. They brought new food and they brought other animals. We liked some of the food and we liked some of the animals, but some of the food made us sick and some of the animals scared us. The rabbits spread across the country. No mountain could stop them, no desert, no river. Still more of them came. Sometimes we had fights, but there were too many rabbits. We lost the fights. They ate our grass. They chopped down our trees and scared away our friends. And stole our children. Rabbits, rabbits, rabbits. Millions and millions of rabbits. Everywhere we look, there are rabbits. The land is bare and brown, and the wind blows empty across the plains. Where is the rich dark earth, brown and moist? Where is the smell of rain dripping from the gum trees? Where are the great billabongs, the river-swollen lakes, alive with long-legged birds? Who will save us from the rabbits? And those are 3 stories collected by Shaun.